Welcome to UC Denver's Costa Rican Study Abroad experience. In this presentation, I'm going to take you through all the great things we did on our trip, our amazing trip. It was really great. Day one was the La Paz Waterfalls and Zoo. Some of the many animals we saw were monkeys, toucans, and ocelots. The La Paz waterfalls were simply incredible. They are a chain of waterfalls, and the middle picture is an example of one of them. After the zoo and waterfalls, we arrived at La Selva Biological Research Center, which is your bottom left. And the ocelot is the bottom right, as I mentioned before. Day two was completely at La Selva. We were able to go on a walking tour of the research station, the whole thing, accompanied by really great guides. They really knew their stuff. They kind of made the walking tour. They pointed out really cool wildlife that we would not have been able to see on our own. Some of the animals we got to see were red tree frogs, a howler monkey, a really big iguana right next to the bridge. I mean, it was maybe 2 feet away, and wild pigs. The wild pigs just kind of roamed all over the areas where the buildings were. We also saw lots of other stuff that I don't have pictures of. Bullet ants and lots of plant species. There's a walking palm tree that was pretty cool, but I don't have a picture of it. And day three was completely on the river. It was a lot of fun. It was one of the most exciting days. Again, we got a tour of the river near La Selva, and by these wonderful guides that I previously mentioned. And then afterwards, we got to go whitewater rafting. It was pretty awesome. In the middle of our trip, our guides cut up fresh fruit, as you can see on the bottom. Some of the best fruit I've ever had. The white pineapple, if you can see kind of in the middle, is native to Costa Rica. This is the best pineapple I've ever had. So on the top right, there's like a picture of us whitewater rafting in a calm section. There were, much more whitewater sections. There was a 4-foot boulder that, half my raft fell out of. A lot of fun. Day four was sustainable farming and our trip to Arenal. We traveled to the Arenal area and got to see an example of an organic farm. The organic dairy farm we visited took great care of its cattle and was very progressive. They used waste in a biodigester to produce most of the energy they needed for the farm. And afterwards, we ate at their restaurant. They owned a restaurant right near their farm, which is on the bottom. And it was, honestly, in my opinion, one of the best meals on the trip. And there's a picture of the Arenal volcano as well. Day five was the skywalk and ziplining. We hiked in the rainforest near the Arenal volcano and learned about the rainforest in the area. We got to visit 2 more gorgeous waterfalls pictured here. They were absolutely incredible. The Charm and the Hidden waterfalls were their names. And after the hike, we went through the forest over the canopy ziplining. It was the most amazing thing we did on the trip, in my opinion. I loved it. I've never had an experience like that, and ziplining was worth the entire trip, in my opinion. And then next, day 6, was Lake Arenal again, and Brasilito, traveling to Brasilito, which was on the coast. We drove to the west side of the country to the town of Brasilito, and on our way there, we visited a cafe which had some of the best frozen coffee drinks I've ever had. I wish I had taken a picture of one of them. During our drive, we noticed that the climate changed dramatically from the wet to the dry side of the country. The vegetation was completely different. It was much less dense and shorter. And we also got to see, from a distance, one of the largest wind farms in Latin America, and that's pictured on the bottom left. Our hotel in Brasilito is on the top, and that's the beach town that it was located at. And there was a picture of a rooster. There were lots of them there. Day 7 was beach geology of the Brasilito town area beaches. We hiked along the beach discussing the geology of the area as well as the vegetation. We got to see mangroves in an estuary, and afterwards we visited the sea turtle conservation area. Unfortunately, when we went there, the sea turtles had just finished nesting and had moved on. But we did get to see like a cool little hermit crab. And if you look like just the differences in the soil, the pictures don't really do it justice. But on the bottom right, they're like soils from volcanic material, and they're more dark, and then the other soils are lighter. And there was also another crab we saw near the Brotherly Hotel. On day 8, we traveled to the Eco Lodge in Ojancha. I might have pronounced that wrong, but yeah. So once we arrived at the Eco Lodge, there was tons of howler monkeys in the trees. I mean, it sounded like they were about 5 feet away from us. It was pretty cool. And the people who ran the lodge were really, really nice, and they made us dinner like every day and breakfast. They were really good cooks, hands down the best meals we had the whole time, in my opinion. And there's an example of the Eco Lodge on the left, and the bottom was, I believe it was the home of the people who ran the lodge. There's a pretty big chicken. And then for day 9, was still in the Hojensha area. We went to, again my pronunciation, Barranca National Park. And then we went there to see a cave, and to get to the cave, we hiked a bit uphill to a lookout area, and saw some pretty cool rocks on the way. And then when we got to the cave, there were tons of howler monkeys as well. After coming back down from the area, I was able to see an iguana, which is on the bottom in the middle of the road of the national park area, where our bus was. It was much bigger than that picture shows. It was large. And then on the top is the really cool moth that is up. And day 10 was arriving in San Jose. So we drove all the way across the country back to San Jose. Luckily, our bus driver, who was awesome, took the fast highway. It didn't take us very long to get there. We originally planned for like 6 hours, and it only took a couple. Then there was a beach we saw along the way, as well as some pictures of the city. There's a panoramic of the city, and then one of the churches and some kind of building. I think it was maybe a government building, not sure, on the top there. So day 11 was what I like to call a city tour. We saw a lot of great parts of the city. We saw the National Museum, I believe, which is the bottom left outside of it, and then on the other side there was like a tower thing that's on the top right. We got to see some pretty cool murals, and there's an example of that on the bottom. There were more of them around the corner. And as well, it was a major shopping day. This is where I got most of my souvenirs. There was a small market by our hotel, which was pretty great. Cheap souvenirs, decent quality, so highly recommended. At this museum, there was some pretty cool things. There's a perfect spear that ancient civilizations had made. Definitely was seen. So day 12 wasn't really a day. It was the last day. We left at 3:30 in the morning. Overall, a great trip, and I'm really glad I got to see most of the country. Pura vida.